What's going on, YouTube world? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, I'm Dusty, and this is the Shred Academy. This channel has been brought to you by nobody yet. We're still looking for 2 channel sponsors, guys. Please hit me up in an email. I can talk about your company or your cause for a couple seconds and let people know about it. Help the channel survive. Hit me up in an email, link below. Today, we're gonna be covering a new topic, and let's try to be mature about this: boner logs. Now, what is a boner log? A boner log is simply a flat wooden ramp. It can be built out of a log with wooden slats on top, or it can be framed out with 2x12s. They usually run to be a couple feet wide. There's literally no arc to the transition. And you have to basically create that arc yourself. So that's what we're gonna talk about doing today. We'll talk about approach, speed, form, and landing. So I'm tired of talking. Let's get to shredding. We're gonna start off by talking briefly about the approach. And there really isn't much to be said about the approach, other than to make sure that you're approaching this in a relaxed position. Don't be hunched all down super low, and don't be gripping the bars super hard. Don't waste any of your energy being scared or nervous. The only other thing we'll say about approach is make sure you're lining yourself up to the center of the feature itself. Since they're mostly made out of wood, you don't want to come up the side and have something happen and slip off. And I would suggest not really riding a lot of these in the wet until you're super comfortable on them. So that being said, let's move on to speed. Hey everybody, just wanted to take a quick second and thank all my Patreons that support me. We got Philip Soul, Kevin, Nikita B, Cool CMSC, sorry, Neil Burns, Milos Tansky, Derek K, Steve Cruz, Alan, Andreas Hafner, you can't pronounce your last name, sorry dude, Greg Aspenson, Butch White, Leo Chan, Dan, I see you Dan, Nivira Naves, Ryan Tower, Bo Lawrence, Paula Chris, Brian Stewart, and Michael. Thank you so much. Oh, and Tony, yeah. Thank you guys so much for your support. Now that we've sussed out our approach, let's talk about how much speed we're gonna need to get across from point A to point B. The first thing I want to mention with speed is that the amount of speed you're going to need to get from here to over here, you're going to need to increase that speed to make it up this ramp, because you're going to lose speed the whole time you're going up the cannon or boner log. Now, this log here isn't that steep, but if you go to more advanced trails, these tend to get a lot steeper, and we'll show you one of those in a minute. So let's scoot on over back to this view. And again, in my last video, we talked about given trail speed, and that trail speed is what I'm gathering here. It's the trail speed that I'm gonna have from these 2 features into this one. If you notice, if I back up here, I am pedaling right there. Now, for any of these type of features or any other feature, this flat bottom is the safest place to gain speed. So if you think you're gonna need more speed for a feature like this, try not to pedal on the feature. Try to pedal on this flat bottom. But make sure that you're stopping in enough time to get your body set to accept this transition. Back again over to this clip that I don't have to put in any pedal strokes up. I've just had enough trail speed that I can ride off and over while still putting my body into certain positions. Let's take a look at a clip of me having not enough speed and pedaling on the feature, and we'll also have a look at a steeper feature and realize why it wouldn't work there. In this clip, you can see I don't have enough speed in the flat bottom. I'm already pedaling and I continue to pedal up the feature. But look at my body position as I go up this feature, right? You can tell right here, I kind of am feeling that compression of the transition there. So if this were to get any steeper, I would not be able to pedal up it. As well as I pedal up it, because I don't have enough speed, I have to rely on what? The J-hop. Now, even if I had enough speed, you're still having to go through some body motions, but let's have a quick look at this guy. Now, as I come into this guy, thank goodness I have trail speed, because I would not want to be pedaling up this. It's not very long, and there's a big compression or transition at the bottom that you can tell I pump through. And my body would be flung forward trying to pedal up this. Now again, at this one, even with all the speed I have, still relying on that J-hop to make sure that this arc goes to plan. Well, that wasn't a bad one. If you're just starting out on a feature, I would suggest having a few run-ups. I don't have one filmed because it was quite wet and I really didn't want to stop on here. But if you just ride up and kind of get to here, hit the brakes, you can stop and easily get off these. Just make sure that you're stepping onto the wood and being careful about what you're doing. So now that we've talked about speed, there's going too slow and there's going to be having enough speed where we may not need to do a whole lot, but you'll still need to go through some body motions. And then there's not having enough speed and a body motion that we should never do. And if you guessed it, that's right, the two-wheel lift. We'll talk about why not to do it. So let's get over to form and decide what form we're going to use for what speed. We've talked approach, we've talked speed. Now we're going to talk form. And our form, like larger drops, is going to be depicted from our speed or decided by our speed. In this slow motion clip, I come in with plenty of speed and I really don't have to do a whole lot going off the lip. So let's break down what's going to happen if you've got plenty of trail speed to more or less, quote unquote, ride right off. Now, as I approach, again, in a relaxed attack position, I'm not hunched down because I have this transition here that, while sometimes is very smooth, a lot of times because it's short transition and then straight, there is sort of an abrupt feeling. And you'll see that happen right about here. Okay, so if you were hunched down end or forward, you would just get kind of slopped forward in the bike and would feel really uncomfortable going the rest of the way up the cannon. Now, as I continue up the ramp, I resettle myself. Now, this is gonna not look like I'm doing anything, but notice spotting the landing. This isn't a long gap. It may only be 6 or 7 feet. So I can see it from this portion of the takeoff. Now, once I leave the ramp, okay, notice I'm not doing any real unweighting. I'm literally am just riding off, but watch what happens to my body as I reach the end. Notice how my hips are scooting into the back. That's acting as a counterbalance for the front wheel. So it doesn't just dive with all this weight, all this weight of me portioned over the front. So as I continue to leave the lip, my hips will still shift back. And now once I've left, I've kind of started that downward portion of the arc, and I make sure that I push my arms through so I can pull myself back on top of the bike, as you see that happening here. While I'm growing on the bike, I'm also pulling myself back to center. Now, it's not rare to have enough trail speed to ride off these, but it is rare to see them on bigger trails that you'll just be able to ride right off. This gap, again, I say is not very long, and I'm coming in with quite an enormous amount of speed. So let's go take a look at a slower entrance and how we shouldn't jump off one of these. This is fine, relaxed, absorb that little bit of compression, and now I've basically done a body preload, and now I explode straight up. I am completely unweighted from the bike here. My rear tire has to travel this distance and then this distance, hopefully without catching my good old-fashioned rear wheel on the edge of this drop. So let's find out what happens. As I keep going up and forward, unfortunately my head has left the building. You can see though that I'm not able to pull the bike up. If I try to pull the bike up, I'm gonna pull my body down. You'll see it all the time on the trail when people are trying to jump like this. So now actually you can see my bike go up, starts to fall, clips the edge, and now I really can't do any rolling, right? I just kind of let my body fall back down into place. And fortunately, because I have done this enough for reviews, that I do land somewhat evenly, but look how low my butt gets to the seat. I'm almost sucked into that rear seat stay, and that would just be awful. So again, we have debunked or shown why this method is awful. So let's head on over to another clip, and I'll show you how to properly leave a cannon when you are just a little shy on speed, or you're on a bigger cannon and you have to create a little more arc to get to that landing. So let's have a look at this bigger version where we have a much bigger gap. It's probably close to 20 feet, a long landing, a much steeper takeoff. But I will say this transition isn't bad, but you can see my body adjust slightly for it right there. But I take that straight into my body weight preload. As my front wheel reaches, I go into that front wheel lift, watch my leg push in to the ramp. As I roll forward here halfway through, you'll see me switch my body forward. That's that explosion right there. And now I'll wait till I start to fall, and I'll roll that bar forward and brace for impact. So whether it's big or small, you want to get a little more steez, or you just need a little more height. It's always the J-hop, never the two-wheel lift. Now that we've decided what type of form we're going to use based on the speed we have, let's talk about the landing so we can roll away smooth and hit that next feature. We finally made it to the landing, and are landing like almost all jumps. We're going to be heading for that front tire first, and then setting our weight down into our bottom bracket. Notice how I'm looking ahead here. I'm not looking at where I'm putting my tire. I'm looking at where my tire is going to have to go. As well, notice that I'm also got that one finger braking going on. So I'm keeping good form and good control of the bike at all times. So the front tire gets set down, I absorb slightly with the arm, and then my weight goes right into that bottom bracket. So now as we come into our next clip, this one, I don't have quite as much speed as I need. So here you'll see me do that J-hop. definitely a lot more air, looks cooler than just, you know, riding off with a proper technique. But again, I'm rolling that bar forward. Notice my eyes up now, spotting where I'm gonna be going. One finger braking. I'll absorb slightly with my arms, and then all my weight goes down into that bottom bracket, and I'm already ready for the next feature, and I'm staring at it. And actually, you can tell I'm actually braking a little bit right here to slow down for it. Now, our final clip of landing is the form that I hate. Two-wheel lift. I mean, it just looks like I'm trying to jump off the bike. Now, luckily this time you don't see the rear wheel smack at all. I guess I cleared it. Right? And I'm trying to roll the bars forward, but I really can't. Okay? And I land both with at the same time, which isn't that awful. But let's watch the head slap here. Wham. Right? It's a much greater impact. The bike doesn't like it as much. Look at my fork, almost completely compresses. Again though, head looking forward, one finger braking. I may have bad form, but at least I'm trying to be safe about it. And now I'm ready for the next feature. The other guys, I was ready for the next feature here, right? But this one took me a little bit to get ready for. So that's landing. Down with the two-wheeled lift, unless you're doing flat drop 360s. Well, everybody, that's gonna do it for our video with bigger drops at speed. Just ride right off, right? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a comment and always like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you'd like to support the channel, please become a Patreon. We have 3 different levels, and it would help us just make our monthly bills. We're also looking for 2 channel sponsors. It would really help make up the difference between what we need to make a month and where we're at. We'd love to shout out your company or your cause on the channel and make the world aware of it. Now, as promised, I have figured out the raffle for the signed jersey, which we have over 12 signatures of World Cup downhill riders. We have Dakota Norton, we've got Aron Gwin, we've got Lucas Shaw, all the big names from the US. We've also got some Pivot Factory Racing, Bernard Kerr, we've got Matt Walker, we've got Eddie Masters. So this guy, the link for the auction is below. The tickets are $15 a piece, but you can buy multiple and get a discount. Please support us. The money raised from this will go to us being able to survive through the winter time as you guys start skiing and stop watching mountain bike videos as much. We look forward to seeing you back next summer. We'll continue making these videos throughout the winter, so always come back and check. The drawing for this shirt will happen, I think it's on the 19th, but the details are in the link below. So please help support us. We'd also like to head down south to help rebuild some of Florida's mountain bike trails. So there is a donation link for me to head down there. It's my PayPal. You just have to put what it's for in the description, and that'll go towards that adventure. So as always, guys, ride hard, ride safe, be kind to each other. We're all in this together, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. A squeaky belt.